Oh, hi there. I got to thinking, how deep does the rabbit hole go for big pharma and the medical health industry? There's certain concepts that are completely foreign to just your everyday uh, regular citizen. I say citizen, that's probably not the right word for it. Um, People who aren't doctors, aren't pharmacists, don't work on the business end of big pharma or anything like that. Those are the types of people I was talking about. And the thing is, it would be no surprise to me that over the years, big pharma has changed the ingredients to certain medications that people have been taking. Uh, it wouldn't surprise me if they started adding things to it without the consent or knowledge of the patient. Because I'm going to explain a thing or two to you right now. Um, there are a lot of medications that are, 10, 20, 30, 40 years old that are still in circulation, but they may not be exactly the same thing as they were when they were originally released. And they will not tell people that they've changed the ingredients for them. I know of one medication, which I'm not going to mention, which has definitely been watered down. Anyway, that's a side note. What I'm getting at is there's two types of side effects that medications can cause. I know the physical, immediate side effects of the antipsychotic medication I've been taking. I get all kinds of really strange feelings. I get really tired. It used to be my leg would get really stiff. It would become like a spaghetti string, really. As well as a whole pile of how my head feels. It feels like the ground beneath my feet is crumbling sometimes. My throat feels real bad and all kinds of other things. Those are the obvious side effects. Well, there's also side effects from medications that are bad to your organs or other parts of your body, and those parts of your body will be quiet about it until one day it's just like you're diabetic or you got kidney problems or something like that, and it's become a serious issue. Um, Now, Big Pharma's got a lot of influence in the courts, and there's a lot of people that work for it that are basically cold-blooded reptilians who don't really care about people. Uh, I'm not saying they're actually reptiles, but their personalities are like reptiles, so they're cold-blooded reptiles. Take my word for it. So, what it is they want to keep you alive, so that you keep buying their products. And the more products you buy, the more money they make, the better for them, because that is the nature of capitalism. I don't want to sound like one of these socialist, communist type people who wants to attack capitalism and all its evil, but I'm saying the system as a whole is designed for someone to be the person in charge is a cold-blooded reptilian type person, and they could use the logic. Well, we need to advance science. We need to know what medications are going to keep people alive longer. There's a lot of cold-blooded reasons that are actually, leaning towards the side of the dark side. That explain the rationale behind the decision making of these people. They have to come up with medicines that keep people alive longer. And if it puts them in discomfort, but they're still alive, they're not dead, then success. Their medication success. And that is because there are very effective painkillers out there. So any discomfort that somebody's in, nobody cares. If you're not actually dying, because of a medication, then it's a success. I watched some Star Trek, not Star Trek, Star Wars. Never get those two confused. You will get the hate on you so bad if you get those confused. I didn't mean to say Star Trek. It's early in the morning for me. Cut me some slack. Anyway, a Star Wars thing where Darth Vader was in a doctor's uniform. I've seen a couple of them, but one of them he was just emphasizing, well, did you die because of this procedure? Are you still alive? And the guy's like, no. And then he's like, well, then it was a success. It was 100%. And then he was going on about getting high point scores for this treatment and that being good for him, and that's just the nature of the medical industry turning towards the dark side. Anyway, what I was getting at with them changing the ingredients to certain medications, there are a few reasons why they'd want to do that. One of which is because they discovered that there's something wrong with the medication that causes some sort of organ dysfunction or is bad for something or other, blood sugar, cholesterol, whatever, and they don't want to own up to it, and they know they can't just take that patient off that medicine because their body's dependent on it now, so they want to try to quietly alter it so that the patient doesn't know it's being altered, doesn't know they have anything wrong with them, and therefore is not likely to get mad or sue because they don't know. They don't know what to sue about. They don't know what to go tell the lawyer that what they're upset about and what's wrong. And it's all these things. And the only time a doctor's ever going to fess up about anything you have physically wrong with you is if it's immediately going to kill you. Or it's something that's easily treatable that they don't care about, like eczema, for example, or whatever. Something that's non-consequential. But if they notice that, hey, this guy's, we'll say kidneys, for example, are going the wayside, and we suspect it's because of this medication, they'll be zip. They're not going to say anything to you because you're not immediately dying, and they'll just start manipulating the medication you're taking. And you may go, but it's in a sealed Tetra Pak. They couldn't possibly alter it. Why would they go out of their way for me? Well, let's assume you're not the only one on this medication that's having that similar problem. What if there's 10,000 of people like you? What if there's 100,000? You don't know that. Most people don't know how many other people are taking your medication. I defy you to go to an internet source that tells you exactly how many people are taking a medication. And if you do find one, let's say Tecta, for example, I happen to know Tecta, millions of people take Tecta. That's because there's very little wrong with Tecta, except the fact that I know there is a couple things wrong with Tecta, but they're not life-threatening, so it's overall Tecta's successful medicine. There are other things, though. This is number two. Number two, lots of people have mental health issues. They may not know it, they may never have been institutionalized or anything like that, but they have mental health issues. Whether it be with anger, they're alcoholics, they're obsessive compulsive, they got bipolar, but they're just normal enough that they can somehow function in society. They may not be liked by a lot of people, or they may hang out in the wrong crowds, or they may be isolated and alone, and they just keep to themselves. Therefore, the mental health system never gets a hold of them. But I'm telling you, most people have some sort of mental health issue. I notice that. There are very few people that that don't have something going on where it's just like there's clearly an issue upstairs in their head. Whether, yeah, like I said, whether it's anger management, alcoholism, bipolar, whatever, mild schizophrenia, all this sort of things. Maybe even just being too dumb. Maybe that's another one as well. Maybe maybe the mental health profession sees that as a mental illness as you being dumb. You being dumb is a mental illness. Who knows? But the thing is, most people, unless they're forced to, will never go to a mental health facility, and for good reason. Because odds are you're going to feel more sick after you go there than you were before. In light of that, they may find these people who go see a doctor regularly. Maybe they're getting older, maybe they got high blood pressure or blood sugar issues or whatever, and their doctor tells them, you take this medication or you're going to get a heart attack, or this is going to happen, that's going to happen. That's when people start going, ooh, I better spend money and go buy this medication, blah, blah, blah. My doctor told me to take it. And I don't feel anything physically wrong with me when I take it. Unlike mental health medicine where you do physically feel things. Because there's a difference. I would rather feel sick but not actually like have anything internally wrong with me, as opposed to feeling well and having something internally wrong with me. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it does if you've lived through it. I don't have anything internally wrong with me. I've had blood tests, ultrasounds, you name them, I've had them. I don't have anything wrong with me, but quite often I feel sick, and that's because of the mental health medicine. My doctors don't want to admit that to me, but that is the fact of the matter. And that is better than taking medicine and not feeling anything, and then one day my doctor goes, well, you're dying. We're not going to tell you it was because of the medicine because we don't want to get sued, but you're dying. That would not bode well for me. I wouldn't like that. Don't know exactly how to resolve my not feeling too good situation with mental health medicine, but that's okay. Someday I'll figure it out. But anyway, yeah, getting back to the sliding antipsychotic medication in everyday medicine. That's a tricky business, because when people start physically feeling ill, even if it's just superficial because of medicine, they stop taking it. It doesn't matter how old you are, how experienced you are with medicine or anything like that. Most people just drop it right then and there. So the difficult thing is how to get people to take antipsychotic medication, because obviously Big Pharma, and Big Pharma is just a branch of the government, wants you to function in society. And they want you to be not a problem, complacent, compliant. They want you to be smart enough at what you do and smart enough to act what they consider to be normal, but not smart enough to think outside of the box, be creative, and come up with wicked awesome ideas on how to make money. They don't want that, because then you can make them look bad, because they ain't that smart actually. They keep pounding home these simplistic messages, and they hope for people to just get dumbed down to the point where they can categorize people depending how old they are, where they come from in the world, and know everything about a person and how to lie to them without them knowing anything. And it's not because they're smarter, it's because they hoard information. And they don't tell their secrets, and they guard what precious little information they have. That's what they do. Okay, so I think in the future we can see antipsychotic medications and other types of medications being added to everyday common medication that old folks take. Even Tectas, even Advils and aspirins, even cold effects, all this stuff. They're going to start adding stuff to these medications. What certain stuffs, obviously I don't know, I'm not in the profession, but they're going to start adding stuff to them. And they're not going to tell you. They're not at liberty to tell you. Because if they tell you and something goes wrong, you know what's wrong and you can sue them over it. If you don't know what's wrong, then you don't know what to complain about, and therefore you will not be able to sue them no matter how much money you have. And the lawyers, perhaps you'll get a lawyer with a lot of medical knowledge if you have enough money. Perhaps you will. But if he's just a servant of Big Pharma, which all medical type knowledgeable lawyers will be, then he will lie to you as well. And don't act surprised when I tell you that lawyers lie. Just don't act surprised, okay? Not that I have a lot of experience with them, but let's not be completely stupid here, okay? So that's my main concern, is that they're going to start putting stuff in medications, and people willingly take medications if they think something's immediately wrong with them, if they're going to die if they don't take it, and all this sort of stuff. And you may go, well, why don't they say that about antipsychotic medication or antidepressants and that sort of things? Well, they do actually say that. They say you could become suicidal, you could this, that, and the other, and they try to scare you into taking it. And that philosophy works, because that's the other part of medication, is the psychology behind it. If they can convince you to take it by using as little words as possible, and just using the conditioning of the medicine, of your visits to the doctor, and the knowledge base of the society around you, then you're more willing to take their medicine. And as I told you, the head poncho at the medical industry, the big pharma, is a cold-blooded reptilian. He wants people to live as long as possible, which is ideally what you want, because as soon as you're dead, then you're dead. Especially if you don't have any children or anything like that, then you're really up the creek. Nothing of you will survive. And this person in charge, this reptilian person, wants people to live as long as possible, continue buying their medicine, not just for the profit motive, but also as an advancement of science, to prove that whatever nation's creating this medicine is better than any other nation, smarter, intelligent, more capable. Now, obviously, this isn't like China, where they have subterranean dungeons where they experiment on people on a daily basis. We're not so desperate. We don't have to test medications on innocent civilians or people who do mild crimes or whatever. We're more advanced and we have more resources. We don't have to resort to such desperation. But in China, however, their cold-blooded reptilian is a very despicable person. And I never, ever want to see that person. He lurks in the shadows. Or maybe even she. We don't know. But I don't know anything about him. But rest assured, you don't ever want to meet that person. Because the Dark Emperor Palpatine, he's the funny grandpa in comparison. So anyway, I do have to use the washroom, so I'm going to end this video. I'll probably do a better version later on. Have a good one, and see you later.